Honorable cuerpo de profesores, estudiantes y autoridades universitarias, visitantes, señoras, señores, van a cumplirse 5 años de una memorable ocasión en que uno de los fundadores y principal patrocinador de esta institución nos comunicó vivamente su deseo y esperanza de traer al claustro de esta comunidad universitaria, en calidad de huéspedes, algunos profesores de la Universidad de Chicago, de manera destacada al señor profesor Milton Friedman. Sus sucesores, junto con las autoridades del profesorado del Tecnológico, hicieron por fin posible la realización de este evento por tanto tiempo gestado, de siempre deseado y acariciado. Don Eugenio, como el Cid, sigue cosechando frutos desde el más allá. Triunfa sobre la muerte y asegura su presencia entre nosotros. Aunque la fama de nuestro ilustre invitado, el doctor Milton Friedman, Premio Nobel de Economía 1976, ya se cuenta en décadas, puedo afirmar sin temor a equivocarme que fue la lectura del pequeño y precioso libro Capitalismo y Libertad, escrito por el señor Friedman con la asistencia de la señora Rosa Director Friedman, su dignísima esposa, también economista, y publicado por la Universidad de Chicago en 1962, el que impresionó profundamente a nuestro inolvidable benefactor. En esta obra, producto de una serie de conferencias que nuestro huésped dio en algunos colegios y universidades de los Estados Unidos, se encierra la más sofisticada y, paradójicamente, la más diáfana defensa de la libertad del individuo y también, aunque en alguien pudiera caber la duda, la de la sociedad. El doctor Friedman, en efecto, sin eufemismos, sin medias palabras y sin pudor, continúa enarbolando con gran dignidad, elegantemente y con aguda inteligencia la vieja bandera del liberalismo individualista del siglo pasado en el sentido europeo de la palabra. Considerado como uno de los más precarios expositores modernos de esa corriente del pensamiento, el doctor Friedman rechaza, sin embargo, el epíteto de conservador, definido como aquel que solo ve hacia el pasado. Él es un hombre que vive hondamente la realidad del presente y denodadamente lucha por un mundo futuro mejor. En el brillante capítulo introductorio, él considera al gobierno no como un otorgante de favores y dádivas, posición paternalista, ni como un amo o Dios al que ciegamente se sirve y se rinde culto, posición organicista, sino solamente como un medio o instrumental, no reconociendo más meta nacional que el consenso de metas que sirven separadamente a los ciudadanos, ni reconoce más propósito nacional que el consenso de propósitos por los cuales se esfuerzan separadamente los ciudadanos. El hombre libre no se preguntará qué puede su país hacer por él, ni lo que él puede hacer por su país. El hombre libre más bien se preguntará qué podemos mis compatriotas y yo hacer a través del gobierno para ayudarnos a cumplir con nuestras responsabilidades individuales y para lograr nuestras diferentes metas y propósitos, y por encima de todo, para proteger nuestra libertad. Friedman se pregunta cómo podemos impedir que el gobierno que nosotros creamos para proteger la libertad llegue a convertirse en un Frankenstein que la destruya. La libertad es una rara y delicada planta. Nuestras mentes nos dicen, y la historia lo confirma, que la gran amenaza a la libertad es la concentración del poder. El gobierno es necesario para hacer prevalecer nuestra libertad. Es un instrumento a través del cual nosotros podemos ejercitar nuestra libertad. Pero la concentración del poder, la prepotencia, no importa en la esfera en que se dé, es también una amenaza a la libertad. Aún el gobernante con la mejor buena voluntad, aún suponiendo que no sea corrompido por el poder que ejercita, el poder atrae y metamorfosea el carácter de los hombres. El gran problema que Friedman desmenuza con rigor científico, pero al mismo tiempo en lenguaje accesible al común de las gentes, en los 12 capítulos de este ya clásico libro, es el de cómo podemos beneficiarnos de este prometedor instrumental del gobierno, al mismo tiempo que evitamos la latente, pero siempre presente amenaza a la libertad que también encierra. Comentar la vida y la obra de Friedman, aún de manera somera, sería ardua e inoportuna en esta ocasión. Su labor científica mundialmente reconocida se manifiesta a través del gran número de publicaciones en forma de libros, artículos y conferencias, y a través de una paciente y laboriosa actividad de investigación que lo ha dotado de una formidable información y erudición en muchos campos del saber. Con todo, él considera que su mayor aportación en el campo de la política pública se ha efectuado a través de su actividad docente, que traducida en enseñanzas se han incorporado en los ya muy numerosos y distinguidos alumnos suyos. Sin haber sido formalmente su alumno, tuve la oportunidad de asistir, de contrabando lo confieso, a alguna de sus clases. Ahí pude comprobar la viveza de su genio, la seguridad y soltura de su lenguaje, la autoridad indiscutible del maestro, su presteza para romper lanzas en el debate público y privado, salpicado de buen humor, a veces matizado con fina ironía, pero sin llegar al sarcasmo, la residumbre y probidad de carácter propio del que se siente seguro y del que tiene fe en lo que piensa y en lo que cree. Pude también comprobar su comportamiento generoso con el adversario, virtud en esta época que lo enaltece, cualidades todas que traban indisolublemente entre sí a su carácter, con su pensamiento y con su obra, reflejando su ser liberal, su vivir liberal y su pensamiento liberal, pleno de consistencia y, volviendo a la paradoja, profunda y prodigiosamente humanista. Señoras y señores que componen este auditorio, las autoridades del Instituto Tecnológico y los profesores y alumnos del Departamento de Economía por mi conducto dan la más cordial bienvenida al insigne señor Dr. Milton Friedman, profesor de Economía del Departamento de Economía de la Universidad de la Ilustre Universidad de Chicago, exaltado por sus servicios con la distinción Paul Snowden Russell y Premio Nobel de Economía 1976. Profesor Milton Friedman, nos consideramos muy honrados con vuestra presencia y la de vuestra ejemplar esposa y profundamente complacidos de que ocupe la cátedra de esta tribuna académica.
We've got to get rigged up. Thank you very much, Professor Maldonado. It was a great pleasure to me last fall to have several representatives from Monterrey, Mr. Duran and Professor Maldonado, visit me in my office in Chicago. And it is a great pleasure for me today to be here with you. I wish I could speak to you in your native language, but unfortunately I am ignorant of Spanish, so I will have to speak in English. But I was listening to the simultaneous translation of the words which you spoke, and the translation was excellent, so I trust those of you who are reduced to listening to the translation will have an equally good experience. I have spent my life in the walls of a university, so I feel at home here where there is another university. I have spent most of my life in the walls of a private university, not of a governmental university. So I feel at home here in another private university. I believe that institutions ultimately must reflect their own character. Governmental institutions will reflect the character of a governmental agency. Private institutions will reflect the character of a private agency. And I think it is a great contribution to maintaining a free and private society to have strong private institutions which can offer a counterpart to a center of power. I speak of private versus governmental, not private versus public, because I think the use of the word public to refer to governmental is one of those examples of using good words in order to avoid the necessity of argument. The Monterrey Institute of Technology is in every relevant sense a public institution. My University of Chicago is in every relevant sense a public institution. They're governmental and correct. It was suggested that a useful topic for me to talk on here would be the topic of moral values and free enterprise. And I believe that is a very important topic, because I believe that some of us, myself included, have tended to emphasize the virtues of a free enterprise economy from the point of view of efficiency in production, while neglecting to emphasize the importance of a free enterprise economy from the moral point of view. And we have therefore been accused and attacked as placing a higher value upon material goods than upon immaterial goods. Whereas, as I shall try to argue in the course of my discussion today, the situation is precisely the reverse. What, in my view, really recommends a free enterprise society is its moral character fundamentally. My central theme is that moral values have to do with individuals, with people. Moral values have to do with what each of us separately holds sacred, what each of us separately regards as important. When you talk about free enterprise or socialism or central planning, you are talking about means, not ends. They must be judged by how much they contribute to the ultimate objectives. They must be judged by how much opportunity they give to each of us as an individual to pursue our own values in accordance with our own lights. They must be judged by what kind of a moral climate they foster. We use phrases loosely. People talk about social responsibility or corporate responsibility. There is no such thing. Only people can be responsible. There is only individual responsibility. The corporate official has a responsibility as a human being. The corporation has no responsibility any more than this podium has a responsibility. That's a human, personal thing. In developing this theme of how different means of organization contribute to moral ends, the important thing is to look beneath the surface the important thing is to distinguish between claims on the one hand and reality on the other. To distinguish between the intentions that people state and the actual result. In this respect, there is an enormous contrast between socialism and the associated systems on the one hand, and free enterprise on the other. Socialism is a system which stresses government ownership and operation of the means of production. In the modern day, it can equally be achieved by governmental control and regulation of supposedly private enterprises. It has appealed, socialism has had a tremendous appeal to intellectuals of all nations. It has had an appeal because of its supposed objectives, particularly the objective of promoting equality and social justice. But if we look not at its stated objectives, not at its claims, but at the results have been exactly the opposite. Those societies, those countries that have gone farthest in the direction of socialism are the countries that have destroyed the freedom and the individuality of the human being, and that have, instead of promoting equality, have produced inequality, instead of promoting justice, have promoted injustice. I am reminded of an old joke about that was supposed to have been told in Poland about one Pole who said to his fellow, he said, "You know the difference between socialism and capitalism?" And the other Pole said, "No, I don't know. What is it?" "Well," said the first one, "you see, it's like this. Under capitalism, man exploits man." And his friend said, "Yes, that's right. Under socialism, it's vice versa." My wife and I had another experience along this line, an actual experience, about 15 years ago, when we were making a trip around the world, and we spent a few days in Poland, in Warsaw. And we were shown around Poland by a wonderful man, Professor Edward Lipinski, a grand old man who today is 89 years old and on the verge of getting thrown into prison in Poland. A very courageous man. He had been the dean of the economists in Poland, the head of the School of Economics. Most Polish economists had been his students. All his life he had been a socialist, a social democrat. He had seen socialism come to Poland, and very reluctantly and very slowly he was coming to the conclusion that he had been wrong all his life. It's a sad thing when a man has devoted his heart and his energy in one direction and he discovers that it's all turned to ashes. But he also has a sense of humor. And so he said to us, he said, "I have finally at long last come to the conclusion that socialism is still the best system. It's a wonderful system. But socialism is only feasible when a country is wealthy enough so that everybody can have a house and 2 servants." And I said to him, "Including the servants?" And he said, "Yes." On a more serious level, along the same line, there was a book that was published in the United States about a year or so ago called Under the Rubble, which was edited by Solzhenitsyn and consists of writings by dissidents in the Soviet Union. And there is in that book one essay in particular by a Russian mathematician by the name of Shafarevich called Social.
El profesor Friedman ha accedido amablemente a tener una sesión de preguntas y respuestas. Entonces, las edecanes que se encuentran en la sala van a distribuir hojas para que las hagan por escrito y de preferencia en inglés. Solamente vamos a disponer de 30 minutos. Las pueden pasar, por favor, y ellas mismas van a recoger.
Yeah.
Will you please
Oh, I'd be
sign?
delighted to this. Is this your personal copy?
Yes, it's my personal. It's from
Yes, I know.
Universal Sala, from him.
Oh, he gave, I
He
see.
gave me, he gave me.
Yeah.
Yes. Please here.
Oh, yeah. Okay. No, the other one was hanging around my neck. That's why I was confused.
Should be so kind to
Oh,
sign
sure.
this book for me.
How do I spell your name?
Gallegos.
G-A.
Llegos.
Is that your last name or your first name?
Last name.
Well, what's your first? Well, I have to put something for senor or something. It says, quote, assuming that capitalism could function effectively in a basically equal or egalitarian society, what is your opinion as to the probability that the USSR and other communist countries may implant capitalism, even of the classical type, once the communist system accomplishes its task of social and economic equalization? That is to say, there will then exist a situation similar to the one existing at the moment of birth of the U.S. Well, I believe that this statement deserves a prize for putting together a maximum number of misconceptions. Who says it is a task of the communist systems to accomplish social and economic equalization? That's the claim, but that isn't the task. The task of the communist society as it actually exists is to put power in the hands of a small clique to exploit the rest of their fellow men. I strongly suggest to the writer of this with his illusions that he read the book by Heydrich Smith on the Russians about the way in which the Russian system actually operates. The Russian system is not promoting social and economic equalization. On the contrary, the Russian system is promoting ever greater division of the Russian people between the rulers and the ruled. You have a small class of privileged people at the top of the social and economic pyramid who get privileges of an extraordinary kind, and you have the great overwhelming mass of the Russian people who are in as bad or worse an economic condition as they were before the communist revolution ever occurred. In the second place, Russia now has capitalism. If you read Mr. Smith's book, you will find that if you read Mr. Smith's book, you will find that there is a very extensive market operating within the Soviet Union. If you are a citizen of Moscow and something goes wrong with your electricity, the last thing in the world you will do will be to call in the government electric company, because it will be 3 or 4 months before you have electricity again. What you will do will be to call in a private entrepreneur, an individual who works during the day for some government official or agency, and in the night moonlights and goes around providing his service as an electrician. And he will fix up your electricity for you. So you have now in the Soviet Union a capitalist system. But it's a capitalist system which is prevented from operating efficiently by the distortion which is imposed upon it by the governmental apparatus. In the third place, the concept of an equal and egalitarian society is, I think, a misconception. I do not know what it means. Equal by whose standards? People are different. Each individual has separate qualities, separate tastes, separate preferences. I do not want, nobody really wants an egalitarian society. There are only two places you can have a truly egalitarian society. One is in the prison and the other is in the graveyard. What I want and what I hope capitalism properly run can produce is not an egalitarian society, but a society of equal opportunity, a society in which everybody has the opportunity to develop his own capacity. Historically, the most nearly equal societies have been the capitalist societies. There is a far greater degree of fundamental equality